Thanks, Jody. meeting regarding this topic that can be led through general government, but then open up and encourage department heads, board of directors, or board of supervisors, to show up and help with this topic.
We've already agreed to do that.
So, okay, do I need a motion to do that? What do I need to do? Nikki?
I think you guys can probably agree on a date to do that.
Agreed. Let's agree on it.
You know, if we think back, everybody that's up there knows how many meetings that took to even get an administrator. And we had more committees. I mean, granted, it's been slimline, but that went through that was a big process. That was about a year. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's gone.
So if I might propose for dates, just looking at when other committee meetings happen, the first 2 weeks of the month get pretty busy. The third is finance and board of supervisors. So, and then we come up against Thanksgiving. So the last week in November is probably a good week, the 28th through December 2nd. There's a time there that would work for the committee.
Can we do it a little earlier than that?
Well, we could do the 21st or 22nd. Those are probably fairly open.
Let's move it ahead and do it a little earlier.
Of November.
I'll probably be sitting on a tree.
But you can come out of the creek though.
You can climb down, I think. Maybe there's good Wi-Fi.
Is that a Monday or Tuesday?
So
Okay, but what about like the 14th?
about the 22nd or 23rd then?
That's a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
That would work for me.
Right before Thanksgiving, yes.
It is Thanksgiving week.
It's
so
Thanksgiving
going to
week.
be a little difficult.
Or that last week.
Is there any meetings in the week of the 13th?
Well, I think we have to get.
We have a county board meeting on the 15th.
Can we do the 21st or the 22nd?
I won't be available on the 21st.
Okay, can we do the 22nd then? Is that good for people?
I can.
Certainly.
I knew you could do it.
Foley?
22nd?
Yep.
I'm free. I'm available.
Kyle?
Should be, I guess.
9:30 on the 22nd?
Sure.
We will announce also via email and at the county board meeting, which is the week before.
I can post it for an open meeting
Great.
right away.
All right,
What time are you thinking?
9:30. Thank you.
Okay, so then for food for
Wait, I'm
thought,
sorry.
It'll be a special general government meeting then.
Yeah,
Since it is
All
that.
that will be
Yep.
happening.
Okay.
so I did prepare for you as food for thought. Just
That's
once
great.
these are printed, I can hand them out now. There are your committees with the positions, the department head position that would roll up to each of those committees according to your current committee structure documents. I focused on position. Those are all yours. Please keep all three. It's a packet.
It's
I didn't make copies for everyone, so I'll hand them to, well, it's easier to flip and lay them side by side if it's not stapled.
And Carrie, you could probably I'm gonna ask that differently. Could,
Sorry, you were tucked away over there.
when the agenda item and the meeting is posted, this could be part of the documents.
Absolutely. This is just current org structure.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so then let's move to administrative report and your voucher approval. I'm
Guys are
sorry.
messing with my vouchers.
I know.
All right. So the voucher approval, I'll let you read the amount. What we have here is the Wakuta, which was the Utility Tax Lobbying Association that the county is part of because of the Dairyland Power, even though it's closed, there's still the off-ramp. So the annual fees for that, along with a whopping $25 payment to mutual insurance, to our insurance company for in addition.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve $1,384.59 for the administrative vouchers.
Motion.
Second, Mary, all in favor of paying this, signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And your report.
Okay, so the department heads usually go before me, and that's so that they can really talk about the stuff that we're working on for their departments. So Connor's going to present to you a printer solution that we're ready to implement for the organization. That is a big one. Something that should be on your radar from a solid waste perspective. Monroe County's feasibility study to expand their facility has been halted by the DNR. And so the haulers that haul to Monroe County are looking, there's a couple of things that should be on your mind because of this. The haulers that haul from Monroe County and parts of Vernon County are looking to perhaps bring waste to Vernon County's facility. We are in the same position because our feasibility study has taken longer than anticipated. Our landfill, our current space allotment continues to fill. And we might be in a position where we are full and shut down by the DNR before our expansion is approved as well. So they will talk about this in infrastructure, but this is kind of hot off the press as something Stacy, Nikki, and I have been talking about the past few days. So I think we've got a go forward plan to maintain the county as is, but the feasibility studies are taking a long time, and it was a bit of a surprise that the DNR made the decision for Monroe County that it did.
That's good. So
Absolutely.
they closed Monroe County down. They're not accepting any waste. Wow.
Carrie, if I may, can you
Please, that's Stacy.
Yeah, so actually Monroe County is being stalled out in their plan of operations, which would be our next step once we're finished with the feasibility study if the county chooses to move forward. And they're having issues with getting DNR approval on certain plan of operations, and that's the DNR. They've used up their allotted airspace, so the DNR has shut them down until that plan of operations is approved. So that's where they're at. This could be a week, it could be months, and that's kind of the situation.
And you have an infrastructure meeting next. Okay.
Yep.
So you'll go more in detail at that meeting?
We will.
Okay.
But, right now we are looking to meet our statutory requirements as a county for disposal. And we would love to help our neighbors out, but at the same time, we really have to think pragmatically about our own capacity and what our own timeline is.
Okay.
So that we can best preserve that service for the residents of Vernon County.
All right.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Other things that are going on, Crystal and I in Veteran Services are working with Social Security, the Social Security Administration Office. They've got some special requests for documents that they require for benefits. But just as a recognition of what that department does, they've secured about $20 million in benefits for veterans and their families in Vernon County. And so they really are doing good work, but it's kind of a tangled process down there sometimes. So with that, I'm going to keep it really brief today. You'll see the budget next week. It's already been approved by finance, so we'll be presenting that, or 2 weeks from now, we'll be presenting that at the board meeting, as it always happens in November, for review. And we've already made the postings as required.
So copies available to look at.
There are. Okay. Any questions? Connor's doing a lot of work. You've probably all noticed the transition to Outlook 365. I'll let him talk about that, and he's going to give you information on the companies as well.
Great, thank you. Human Resources voucher approval. I have a total of $321,910.69 for the Human Resources. The bulk of that is health insurance. Is there anything, Serena, you want to say about the vouchers? Anything unusual?
Nothing unusual. As you can see, neighborhood family clinics on there. We're still getting reimbursed through our grant through WEA. I am kind of keeping tabs on that because we might fall a little bit short, kind of how it's running. I'm anticipating we might need additional funding, 4,000 to 5,000, but we'll see how October's bill comes in with that.
I have a question. That's, no, it seems like a significant number. So we must have quite a few people. Do you have any idea of how many actual people they serve for that?
I do. They give me a printout. I can pull it up.
Well, they just give
it was ballpark pretty high. The September's. I think it's just with school starting, flu season.
Was actually for the month of September, so we may be insured.
Yeah. So historically, you know, your January is a little bit high. People are coming in winter, and then I would say February, March, April, May are a little bit lower, and then it starts to tick up again, kind of based on the weather and the season. So I would anticipate kind of how we're running. We're going to probably need $4,000 to $5,000 in additional funding to finish out the year.
Okay.
And then to think about the insurance plan for next year, if you recall that the utilization will probably go up even more because that's the best option for the folks that have signed up for the high deductible plan.
Correct.
I would like to say that my husband Don in Monroe County, if you go to the family panel clinic, they pay for it. And we have a $2 deductible and it's going up. Anyway, I hadn't used any of my deductible and I wanted a shot in my knee. It was denied at the hospital here where I've always had it. And it turned out to be a coding issue. The point was, though, Don said, you know, there is somebody that does those injections through the family clinic. So I went and I had to have 5 instead of the 1. It was a little bit different, but it was all covered and it was amazing. So it is a wonderful service. There is only one doctor that, and he's not a doctor, he's a nurse, that does those injections, and that's the one on Rose Street. But I mean, that's great information to give our employees because there's a huge difference. That would have been $2,000 out of our pocket.
Yeah, it's heavily utilized by our employees, so I think people are aware that it is quite a cost savings.
Okay, can I get a motion to the floor to pay?
I'll make a motion.
Mary, second. Foley. Any more questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor of paying these vouchers signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Serena, ELB use policy.
Sure. So do you mind pulling up? And we may have to talk about these two kind of together. I understand they're separate agenda items, the ELB and the PTO.
Okay.
But I do have, that spreadsheet, yep.
And this is a continuation from our last meeting and kind of some homework that we gave you, correct?
Yes. Oh, I did that right.
Looks good.
It's blank. Uh-oh.
I feel like it's not opening what I'm asking it to because it's just coming up as I have no internet. Well,
Can you get ELB
I'm gonna get
open?
it out and maybe you can resave it.
Okay, I've resaved it.
Fingers crossed, everyone.
There's one that says new.
What the heck?
Well,
It
mine
comes
is,
up on mine.
comes up.
IT, what's happening?
Yeah, what's going on, Connor?
Because it tells me I have no internet on mine, so.
Clicking right on it.
It's saved in there. Yeah, when I open it up,
Please.
it definitely has things on it.
It's a good report. It's easy to
I worked hard
understand.
on it.
It's easy to understand.
Wonder if anything else in here opens. I open this one.
Yep, that's it.
That works. It's just an Excel issue. We've discovered a bug.
Huh.
Sure.
We're gonna,
Problem with the content, okay.
If I can just screenshot it and then save it in there as like a JPEG.
Or could I kick sharing over to you? But you're not on independently. It always happens when you press present.
Sure.
I can talk through it, if you guys don't mind.
Yep, let's
And
do
then I
it.
can share the Excels with you. So what I did, kind of based on what we talked about last week, is we wanted to look at our ELB and PTO policies. The issues being with ELB specifically, right now it's limited to family medical. We don't really pay it out unless you've been here a certain number of years. PTO, we talked about, we have a hard time utilizing it. People are leaving a lot at the end of the year, and there's not a lot of initiative to roll it into ELB. If I'm not getting it paid out, I can only use it for family medical leave. So what I did was a little bit of a dive going back 2019, kind of what are people leaving on the table historically, back to 2019. And because we have people working different hours, we have 7.5 hour people, we have 8 hour people, right? So looking back kind of 2019, 2020, 21, those that are working 7.5 hour days are pretty consistently leaving a week worth of time at year end on the table. That they're either rolling into ELB, or if their ELB is maxed out, they're really losing that. Those at 8 hours, 2019 was a big tick. They left 2 weeks on the table on average. But 2020, 2021, 6 to 15 hours. Not a whole lot. Looking at this year so far, the numbers are a little bit high, but keep in mind we have deer hunting, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas. People save their time for this. So kind of on average, between both groups of people, we have about 60 hours people have remaining in their banks. I imagine some of that's going to be used here. But that was looking at the numbers, and you can kind of see historically, what are people leaving on the table? Is this a large issue? So I would say, it's a little bit of an issue. I'm seeing it's probably a bigger issue for those working 7.5 hour days. Some of that might be.
What that is.
I'm thinking some of it, just looking at the data, looking at those groups of people, it is smaller departments, or it's a unique position where, if it's ADRC, let's say the transportation coordinator, the one that's doing all the volunteer drivers, there's only one person that does that. You take off, someone else has to cover it. In my office, there's 2 of us, so it is a little bit harder to take time. I'm thinking that's maybe part of it, but I could do a little bit deeper dive. But that's what the numbers are saying. That's what people are leaving on the table. The other dive I did was ELB. Kind of what do the banks look like? The current way our payout is you either get 0%, 25%, or 50%. So I broke it out kind of between years of service. So those working between 1 and 8 years of service, these are the folks that are not going to get time paid out. Their average ELB bank is about 200 hours that they're saving.
That's 5 weeks.
And there's not really an incentive to save it because they're not going to get paid out if they're leaving employment favorably. Now, it is nice if you have a family medical leave reason, you have maternity leave, you can utilize that. For those that would receive a 25% payout, so those would be kind of 9 years of service up to 24 years of service. They have quite a big bank, kind of 300 plus hours. And they would receive 25% payout. Those 25 years plus, their average bank is almost 700 hours. So they have quite a big, and they would only get 50% of that paid out the way our current policy is written. So the other thing I wanted to touch base on is we talked about gathering some feedback from employees, from department heads. So we can still do that. However, some of that was done when we did our wage study. They also evaluated our benefits. So if you go to the table of contents, and go to where it says there's a paid time off. Yep, and you should be able to just click it, and it should go to it. So they commented on our paid time off, our ELB, specifically in this document. So I can provide this all to you to kind of review, digest, and we can have a deeper discussion on it. But to summarize, their feedback on our PTO is they thought we had, we give healthy PTO, which is great, but we also need to make sure people can utilize it. Their recommendation was at some point looking at an accrual system. So hiccups we have with that is you have to think, how do we transfer everyone over to that? And do we have the systems to support that? I would say we don't currently have a good payroll timekeeping system to easily support that. It would be very manual, and I just don't know that we could do it at this moment in time.
A centralized payroll system would allow for that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Then you earn what you accrue it as you earn it.
Correct. Their other recommendation was once you switch to an accrual was to allow a rollover of a week and or a buyback. Their comment on ELB was that they had gotten a lot of feedback from employees that it was upsetting you're not getting it paid out. There's not a lot of incentive to save it unless you know you have something big coming up medically that you need time off. However, we also offer short-term disability through the state that also covers some of that time. Now there is a 30-day waiting period for that, so you could use, some of your extended leave bank to cover, and then short-term will pick up. But also that doesn't encourage one to save much more than 30 days, right?
Can you use your ELB? Because usually short-term disability doesn't pay out at 100%. Can you use fill the gap if you're in that situation?
You can. It just gets a little tricky with reporting. And you obviously can't be paid by short-term and the county at the same time. So those were kind of their general comments in this report. So I know that's like an information dump. The other thing we talked about, and this is something I would like to get department head feedback on how that would look for them and how it would work, would be releasing some of those restrictions with the ELB, allowing that maybe it's not just family medical leave time. Maybe we loosen those restrictions to it can be used for sick time, but it's for, yourself, your spouse, your children, your immediate family. But I would like to get department head feedback before we jump to editing that policy. But that would be an option for ELB.
How far are we for a centralized payroll system for the county? I know everybody laughs, but seriously, how far are we? And how much would you eventually save in labor?
We'd save a lot in labor. I mean, right now everything is very manual. Even when we do, because we give PTO banks lump sums, even when we generate that information to be loaded, it's all done by personnel team manually, given to payroll to enter manually. I would say we're 1 to 2 years out from, because to get a good project team to get all the requirements, you're going to want a year to select something and get all the kinks worked out.
I think ideally too, we've got to think about the systems that we're laying on top of, that we're laying this on top of. So if we're layering a new timekeeping and payroll system on top of a very old financial system, it's just going to move the brake to a different area of the system.
Okay.
So what's this, did Liam Industries create a system for us? Is that what you're using now, or?
Yes,
What?
that's
our
timekeeping. That's
Yeah.
right.
Is that better than before?
So I can't speak
Yes
to
and no.
before, but right now, what I can say is that for departments, it does require a second manual entry. So employees log their time in GoTime, the Liam system, and then payroll has to manually enter that log into our payroll system.
Yeah, so it's not much better on there.
So, Serena, what I heard was you have information you laid out. You're going to send us the Excel so we can kind of
Yes.
see what you said. That you don't want to make action today without at least touching base with department heads. And I think we also maybe talked about that core group of employees that helped with the
Yes.
like that group, because that's more than just department heads,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Before we actually have a potential action item, right? Is that where I'm at? Does
Yes.
that sound right to the committee?
Are you comfortable making a recommendation to us after you get your feedback?
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think we need to be thoughtful about it before we just, well, this will fix it. Because what else does that create? You know,
Yeah.
we release the restrictions on ELB, but then does that create a bigger problem where we already have people can't use their PTO? So then
Right.
we're going to have more PTO at the end of the year because people are using, versus they'd use their PTO for sick time, now they're going to use their ELB.
Can I just summarize the two, like a 2-sentence summary of the argument? For the employees, they've earned the time and they would like to use the time. That's fair and reasonable. From sort of an organizational perspective, we have a pretty liberal policy. We don't allow rollovers right now because it's a liberal policy, and that would make scheduling really difficult for organizations. Loosening up ELB would be basically akin to allowing the rollover of those hours. And so we just have to, that's the thoughtfulness that Serena's talking about. They're both great points, but the coin does have two sides.
Well, and I understand accrual is truly earned. So the buyout of it is much cleaner. It's why most, I shouldn't say most, but several companies do it that way.
Yes.
Because that is truly an earned benefit. But this is part of their compensation package, so that too is earned. So it is a complicated situation.
That's why I want to act on a recommendation, because I've never personally had PTL or PTO.
Absolutely. And I don't feel comfortable making a recommendation today without getting some more feedback.
That's
but
great.
But I've looked at the data so we can see kind of where the areas are that we have issues. Sorry the Excel is not working today,
That's
but
right.
I can send that to you. And then I'll also send you a copy of that wage study report that has their comments on it as well.
All right, so let's just roll this over into next month's meeting. Is that enough time for you, or do you want to do it? Because you're in the middle of open enrollment. Do you want to do it in January?
It's finishing up open enrollment. So December should be fine.
Okay, Kyle?
The department had a good gauge of what would best serve the employees of that group, or is actually asking that group of employees what they think?
I think that's why we put that employee group as part of it too. I think you need both, because
Right.
department heads are
I
the
agree.
ones who have to manage the leave and can their departments function.
Can't you give every employee group a survey and have them give that to their department head and then evaluate that?
So we can actually, we can do an online survey, and you're completely right. What I expect you're going to see is what you see depends on where you sit. So if you're an employee, you're going to want to use your ELB. Absolutely. I'm sure department heads would look into as well. organizationally, that could make staffing very, very difficult. So if you're a department head, you're going to see both sides of that coin. If you're an employee, I would expect that people want flexible access to their ELB banks. And that's where we're not going to get clear guidance from the organization as a whole on which is the right direction to go, because solving one problem will create another. And so that's where the vision needs to come into the policy.
So I think that will be the hard work of this committee to sort through, but as much information. I think you're right, Kyle. We need feedback from both.
Yes.
Right, I understand they're gonna wanna use it, but what would they give them some things to choose from as far as acceptable uses and or, you know, what they would think would be let's say if you would offer a greater payout at a lesser year of service, what they would expect that to be, what are their expectations, you know, you're not gonna take it as, you know, that way you just, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe like thoughtful
Because-
questions with.
Right, just give them, you know, because maybe, I doubt every employee is gonna have the same idea. You know, of course they'll want it paid out, but how would they like that to be paid out? Do they want a higher percentage of payout? Do they want to have?
Or has the thought ever come about having a sick bank where people could donate days that aren't used? And if you had somebody that was out long-term, let's say cancer or a terrible accident, whatever it might be, and they don't have enough days, they can pull from that sick bank.
We have a PTO donation policy. Sometimes what you run into with those is the IRS has pretty strict regulations on so much time that's given to you can be considered earning, thus taxed. So our current policy is written to kind of stay within those guidelines, but there has been something, I'm glad you brought that up. Right now it's limited to just donating PTO. We could open that up to if people want to donate ELB. That would be another option.
Charlie?
I just want to comment, for clarity, there is a rollover if PTO time has been denied.
Right.
Yes, we have allowed
two
I
those,
say
yeah.
there isn't,
Yeah.
it isn't technically
It
correct.
isn't in policy,
Right.
but it can
But it
be an exception, and that's a pretty frequent exception that's made if it's been documented that it's denied.
Right, and I guess just when they first started the PTO, I mean, the purpose was to get away from banking vacation to having all those separate ones,
Yes.
to put it all into one.
Mhm.
Well, now the interpretation has become that that's all vacation time, you know, which is considerable.
Mhm.
You know, and then they're trying to figure out a different way for sick time. Just keep that in the back of your minds too, that
Yes,
by the number of hours, there's a lot. And as
yes.
far as scheduling, to say we'll just open up ELB for sick time is, for some departments, is gonna be a major issue.
Yes.
I know we can find a solution. We just
I
need
know
more
we can too.
information. Maybe we should just leave it alone.
Well, I think that's why it has been left alone, Mary, is because no one can come up with a
Because
good
having
compromise solution.
a decent ELB bank is not a bad thing for an employee either. You should kind of encourage them, because life happens.
Like this.
You manage it yourself. That's it.
I know you like that. A lot of employees don't like that though, the two bank. So
But they can see the one bank ain't doing them any good anyway, so.
the ELB,
Right, you know, having,
I think we need more information.
I agree.
I think there's probably opportunity to figure out different ways to manage that ELB payout that could be a little more reasonable, but until we get more information, let's just see.
I agree. And those that have been on personnel prior, I have presented different recommendations in terms of like changing that ELB payout. There just hasn't been a large appetite to change that, because it could mean, if someone has been here, and I'm telling you, on average, those that have been here 25 plus years, their bank is 690 hours. that's a big payout if you're gonna pay out 100%. So there hasn't been a large appetite, but that is another option we can look at.
Okay. Department report.
I have been extremely busy with open enrollment. We just ended on Monday. So right now we're working on getting everything sent off to courts and kind of getting next pieces in line for January 1, making sure employees have their insurance cards in hand and everyone is set. I would say I was surprised by the number of people that elected in the high deductible and health savings account option. I think people were a little bit apprehensive, but I have a lot of people that enrolled in that option and are generally excited about it. So I don't have a large report. That's what I've been.
You did interviews yesterday?
Yes, we did county clerk interviews yesterday with a handful of candidates, and Lauren is going to be recommending someone for appointment for the county board meeting this evening.
How many applicants did you have?
We had 5 total.
You interviewed all of them?
We interviewed 3 of the 5.
And who all was in on the interview process?
So myself, Mary Henry was gracious to participate, and then Lauren, and then Renee from the clerk's office.
Okay. And is the recommendation coming unanimously from the interview group?
It really, we discussed and we were torn between 2 candidates and kind of left it on Lauren because he's the one by statute that needs to decide.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we will just be presenting with 1 candidate.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how is hiring and position vacancies going right now in other areas?
Good question. Much better. We've almost hired all the highway openings, so that has been exciting. We still have open social worker for the ADRC, and we're finishing up. They had economic support open again. They're doing interviews this week. We are also doing interviews for the GIS tech position that's been open. Taylor Vogley held previously. So we had a ton of qualified applicants for that. That must be like a niche market, GIS. I'm learning so much about it. So we are doing interviews this week and hopefully we'll have a pick for that as well. But hiring has been going well.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about Bill with this Highway 14 incentive for plows. Is that $2.50 during plowing snow, right? Winter season.
Yes.
From November to April?
Yep.
Every day?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else for Serena? Thank you. Legal and policy. So legal voucher approval.
Legal affairs, there we go.
Thank you. I have a total of $13,104.30. Could I get a motion to bring
What's
those
that?
vouchers to the floor?
No, it wasn't on our.
Yeah, so this one wasn't received, so you're welcome to look through it. It came in this morning.
Yeah, because we had the same problem last month.
Okay, can I get a motion to bring it to the floor?
Well, no, we didn't
Last-
get it.
Last month it was in your packet.
Oh.
One more time. Can I get a motion to bring these vouchers
Yeah.
to the floor? Thank you, Mary.
Yes.
Kyle,
I just-
second. Now have at it. We have not had them till this morning. It looks like it's.
I would say
Looks like it's huge for human service, or human services had a lot this month.
That's exactly what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Okay.
That would be the exception to the status quo otherwise.
Okay,
Was that a seasonal thing or just back?
No, it really does ebb and flow, but there are a number of mental health commitments and some guardian issues.
Yeah.
so,
So it didn't pay the voucher.
okay.
I'm the only one.
All in favor I don't know the total anymore. They ran away from me. All in favor of
Well, it
paying,
was,
paying the vouchers as I stated, signify by aye.
13,104.30.
Thank you. Any opposed? Excellent. Okay, Nikki, board rule and committee responsibilities update, administration structure, potential action item.
I think we charged you, you didn't sign anything to.
Right,
Look at it, but it's
And
just what it is.
so it went back
I
and
think it's
looked,
just interesting.
what I
to
was
understand
happy
what we
with
did.
was
Right.
adding into the board rules what I'd actually already added in and just spaced that I had done the work already. In regards to the roll call votes, that was one of the things we had discussed in the last meeting that didn't go into the board rules. When I drafted that resolution, I had attached the draft board rules that reflected that and do it. So that is in the current working dynamic,
Okay.
living document, if you will. I do not know if it's been published to the website. I'm looking to Carrie and Connor. I would.
So I haven't gotten that document back from, you're saying you updated the board rules document?
To include the roll call votes.
Okay, so then where did you send it? You updated it.
It was done as part of the resolution. I can resend it to you. So it was at the time of the resolution prior to approval, but then it wasn't. I'll resend it to you.
So I think what was like asked, and it sounds like it was
That was one
done,
of the.
that we were supposed to then craft, but you already did it when the resolution came.
It
So
was
this
actually-
committee doesn't need to approve it. It was approved at the board floor.
That's right.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. The other thing I thought this agenda item was meant to include was the recent board action with changing the executive branch from administrator to the administrative coordinator. And with that said, I do have a tracked changes version where you can see those changes that I proposed to make. But we've got that special meeting coming up, so I think it may make more sense to postpone that to address at that meeting. I defer to you guys for that.
I think that would be most responsible since we're trying to do it all at one time. If you think it's okay to post in along, I don't know what it is because I didn't see it, but along with this, when she posts for the meeting,
This is just the work
just
structure,
do
the
the board
committee
structure. So
structure.
if you think it's something that could be posted to review prior to the meeting, then let's do that so that we can have a good conversation about what's going on.
Be posted to the agenda that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. So Carrie, does it work with you if I get you all of those things?
So I think, because we do want to make sure we're tracking and updating the board rules, and that's always the current version that's accessible in the clerk's office and also online. So I think maybe whenever changes are made, it should probably go to the clerk, and then right now Kayla's been updating the website for us, or I've done it.
Okay.
That's probably a communications responsibility that needs to be discussed now that Kayla's in finance.
Okay.
And my role has changed. So that's just kind of another thing that, but for now, certainly we should always have them because that's where the official records reside.
That's right.
I also need clarity on the role. It said April for her role. So did the role change yet?
No,
Not yet, not till
No.
April.
No, but that's what we need to plan for.
exactly.
Okay, but I'm just like, today it has not changed.
No?
So
Okay.
as of right now, we are under the administrator executive.
Okay, that's just me. If that was obvious to everybody else, I'm sorry. Did you have a question? Okay, so does that seem feasible to the committee that we just roll that and make it part of our special meeting?
Yes.
And then Nikki, you're gonna post, and Eric and Nikki are gonna post things where they need to be posted.
I'm not going to post anything. I don't know how, but I'm going to get it to Carrie and to Jody the clerk.
Okay. Corporate council report.
I don't know that I have anything else to add right now. Just been swamped with the typical kind of stuff. Any specific questions?
Have you heard anything about the Register of Deeds appointment?
I guess I don't know what you mean by have I heard anything about it.
The governor's
Like the
likes
current-
that.
The governor's.
Yeah.
The current status, no.
So where was it?
There have been
What does it make
applications
of-
and they're going through the interview process now.
Didn't you spend one
Your
in?
resignation's on the 31st, so
Gotta be a date there.
Yeah, it was in the paper last week.
Are you asking for Maryland's date of resignation?
No.
I'm asking when he has to make that appointment by.
Oh, I think they request 3-month.
31st
So,
of December, wasn't it? That she's.
Yes, I understand that. I asked when the governor had to make the time frame he had to make that appointment by. You know, does he appoint a month ahead of the resignation date or whatever? So just for my information.
Specified time.
It's interesting that our last two Register of Deeds have both been appointed by the governor. Our county Register of Deeds.
Yeah.
well, Maryland won.
Erin was elected.
I mean, prior to her.
So not the last two.
Dawn Nimick.
Yeah, he was appointed.
So one.
I just don't understand.
So Kyle, if you wanna find the answer, I'll let you know.
That's all right. That was just for my knowledge. Doesn't matter. We'll have one by then.
Unless anyone has any other questions, that's all I can.
In your spare time.
Thank you, Nikki.
Kyle.
Okay,
Out of spare time.
do you guys need a break? You're getting squirrely on me.
No.
Okay.
We're good.
So buildings and facilities voucher approval. And there was an addition this morning, making the total $2,523.81. A large part of that is Excel Energy, and the rest
Well, that
look
was
pretty.
already there.
Oh, Phil just left. Oh, whoa! Hi,
You just left.
Phil. Do you have something to say about the vouchers?
No, they're all within the norm.
Okay.
So was excellent. Is that a special one?
No, we pay every month.
You paid every month. It just looked different. Okay.
So could I get a motion to bring the total and to pay these vouchers?
Make that motion.
Kyle, Mary, all in favor of paying $2,523.81, signify by aye. I forgot to ask for questions. Did I miss any questions?
I had a question for Phil. The old highway shop still on the green light?
Ain't heard nothing about it. If you attended the city meeting the other day, it's a done deal, but I haven't got any information from the continued, there's more environmental research to be done. I haven't heard a word from them.
I mean, we're under contract, so
Yeah.
to the extent that the parties involved will honor their contract.
Yeah, I don't see that should be a problem.
Well, they could still pull out conceivably. Anything.
Well, they'd have to find reason, but under the contract too.
Right.
But,
Are they thinking of?
no, okay, before we go down a rabbit hole, Dave, that likes to take me down, we're gonna start with lawnmower skid steer trade-in and purchases. Phil.
Okay, I just been doing a little research, and this discussion came up from last month. You know, we've got a skid steer that Buildings and Facilities owns that was purchased years ago before my watch. With the close proximity of the highway shop and additional skid steers in the area, we questioned whether or not we really needed our own skid steer. They used to do a yearly trade. They quit that program, so now we always owned it, but now we're not trading it up. That being said, we've got kind of a hodgepodge of older mowers at Buildings Facilities because we mow a lot of ground. So we discussed whether or not we should trade the skid steer in, get a new updated mower, trade a couple of our older units in. Actually, we'd sell them on Wisconsin surplus. I think we can get more for them that way than what they would offer us on trade. So that being said, I did a little research on mowers out there that have front deck mounted mowers that you can get a cab and snowplow attachments and sweepers and all the stuff we use. The proposals came in anywhere from $67,000 to $39,000 or $36,000. That being said, the Deeres they don't, I didn't want to say discontinue, they quit making them. Because of staffing shortages and all the above, so you can't even get one of them. They have no idea when you're going to be able to get the power unit. Kubota is the only other one in the area that makes a front mounted, that you have the attachments for. Best case scenario, we may be able to get a unit in July, if you're lucky. They can't find them. There's none on inventory anywhere in the United States, and they have ceased production as well. They just focused their workforce in other departments. So I don't know how far we want to go with the discussion with the availability the way it is. That's you folks' call.
Better act now, or we'll be talking about it in July. Huh?
Well, we're not dead in the water. I mean, all our mowers are functional. Our biggest issue is winter maintenance with snow blowers and sweepers. The unit we have now, we've got 2 of them that we can do winter maintenance with. One has a plastic enclosure, which if you've ever plowed snow in the wet, a plastic enclosure, you can't see after the first 5 minutes the wind blows. And the other one is an open station, so you're out in the elements. I mean, they may find one, but I mean, I've seen the dealer sheet. It's 0. There's blank. There's no mowers on there.
What size are you looking for?
Like it'd be a 26, 27 horse with a 72-inch front deck, and with a snowblower attachment, and then a sweeper attachment. Yeah, with a cab on it. No air or nothing like that, but it does have heat in it and windshield wipers and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Does it make sense to get rid of all your hodgepodge mowers and equipment then, and maybe get 2 units, and then that way, if you select a brand or whatever you want to do, that you can have attachments that will go between both units rather than having.
And that's why
isn't that maybe a smarter way to go for having such a trouble getting, put the order in and deal with what we got until we get them, and then go about it that way. And then we've got units that can utilize attachments for anything.
And that's Vernon Manor has the Kubota front mount, so all our parts are interchanged. Kubota was the $36,000 one, if you can get them. Because it would be substantially more expensive to make the switch to gear.
Right, and like Dave said, if we wait till July, we're going to wait another.
Right. And that's if we're interested in this, I'll pull the trigger and get the ball rolling. But their availability. The next option is we brought the 1 unit that we were going to trade in. We updated the deck on that a couple of years ago because the old deck was shot. The engine's getting a hair tired. It just doesn't have the power, to mow like it used to. We've got a big Ferris as well that we use, but that's got 1,700 hours on it. They recommend $1,500. We got the industrial motor on it, but that's got a lot of miles under it as well. And we've got one that we commandeered. People shouldn't leave stuff laying around, that we actually, buildings facilities, put a new motor in it, or new parts on the motor. Cost us $500 and some. Another Deere 0 turn that was stored in a shed that Land and Water used to try to mow dams and parks with. We fixed that up, so we've got spares. And when we mow 30 to 35 hours a week, or twice a week, to mow all the grounds, might be cheaper if we just pasture, build fence, pasture it. Little ode of nature there going through walking into the buildings. But I just need to know how you want me to proceed, because right now we'd sell 2 of the older units on Wisconsin surplus to make the hodgepodge work. The one we would trade in, and we'd trade the skid steer in. So we would reduce our fleet, but it would be a newer, updated fleet.
So as far as skid steer usage, plowing snow, that's about it.
It's minimal for plowing snow.
Okay.
It was more so bought back, they say, before my watch, to plow snow, help with plowing snow, because we just had pickup plow at that time. But also, we had pallet forks for it, so we could unload a semi or whatever coming in, which is rare. that we have a pallet, that we have to use it. But in that being said, Land and Water, who parks their skid steer about 100 feet away, has a skid steer available. The Sheriff's Department has a skid steer 100 feet away in a pinch. And the highway is 500 yards away, and we've got 3 skid steers.
You said the skid steer was very little usage on it.
Yeah, this year we had 38 hours on it.
Yeah,
so far.
because I mean, right now, you're trying to buy a skid steer, you're looking at a year sitting out there.
And that's why this came up, just looking at updating mowers and stuff, and then you look at that skid steer that's arguably on Wisconsin surplus, $35,000 easy. It's a smaller unit, but it's shiny new. It's got less than 200 hours on it, or just over 200.
Size.
I mean, it's R190, I believe.
I'd make a motion to support his recommendation to.
Well, I don't know that I've gotten a recommendation.
Well, and that's part of it. If you want me to proceed with the wheel and deal and trading and selling stuff, we'll put some stuff on Wisconsin surplus. We'll order the Kubota with the attachments. The attachments they have, they just don't have the power unit. That's what we'll have to wait for.
I don't think it's wise to get rid of anything until you have your equipment in hand.
Right. But if we want to optimize the sale price of the skid steer, I think the skid steer will go well no matter what.
That'll go well.
So you could
regardless
just
what
sell
kind you
the
sell it.
skid steer now.
Pardon?
You could sell the skid steer
The
now.
skid steers, if that's gone, no big deal.
Right.
The one other mower that we would trade in, we only thought about selling that now because that does have a snowplow or a snowblower attachment. It's a John Deere 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer. So that would be a hot ticket this time of year for a smaller municipality that didn't have 40 acres to mow or as much plowing to do as we do. The other mower we would keep, and I've already talked to Portland about that. They're fine with us keeping that until the new unit came in. If we sold the Gale skid steer and the other mower, and they told us next spring you're not getting a mower for 4 years, it doesn't affect us then. We still have our mower fleet. Because the one unit is sketchy enough where we don't use it a lot. It's kind of a backup if something else breaks down and it's raining, or we get multiple people that can mow. In the wrong time of the summertime, when it's raining, we'll have 3 guys mowing in a day. Trying to get done before the grass gets out of control.
So are you recommending that we sell now for items that would be best
If we're going to proceed, I would recommend we sell the Gale and the older Deere mower.
now?
With the attachments now, we'll hang on the older Kubota mower until we get our new one. But then I would sign contract with Kubota and get that moving forward.
But they don't have any real, because I ordered something.
I think that's the
that
plan.
doesn't.
Yeah, there's no guarantee. They said July, best case
But
scenario.
they told me April.
Yeah, they
and it's
said
November.
that's if everything goes right and they start production after the first year, we may get one in July. That's if they start production.
Mhm.
So just a motion to allow him to follow it, to use his discretion on the purchase and trade-ins.
Okay.
I second that motion, Dave.
Any more discussion?
What was the motion I didn't hear?
To allow the department head there to use his own discretion on trading and ordering.
On this particular item.
Whatever you do, get rid of anything until you have a place.
Well, and I think that was
Just don't shortchange yourself for the
Yeah,
department. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, and we know what the base price, if we, we've already got a number on the skid steer and the older mower, talking to the dealers that we've dealt with, what they would be willing to offer us, so we can put it on Wisconsin surplus now. If we get more money, fine, sell it. If not, just hold them back and we'll make the trade. We don't pay sales tax, so it doesn't affect us that way. See what the market is next spring if the mower's even coming in.
In your research, you think the Kubota is probably a better choice.
They do have a good government program, don't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised, because we talked about making a transition Deere. It's a little closer. They've got the same attachments, great reputation, but you're talking an extra $30,000 too.
I also think those Kubotas are built really good.
And we've had good luck. I say close parts. Vernon Manners is ancient. They run along.
I have one and I eat trees.
okay. So I think we have a motion Yes?
Oh, I just want to be for the notes so that I'm clear. We've got a motion for discretion on selling and trade-in of equipment. Do you also require action included in that motion to purchase new? And if so, what's that amount you need in the motion?
Right, same.
I knew you were on it. I was getting that vibe.
We need the
I guess we
number.
don't know the amount.
No, it's up to Phil.
$35,649.19.
Bingo.
Okay, so we're adding that dollar amount.
Can you say that one more time? 35,600.
$35,649.19.
39.19.
Or
So
up to
do I have that right? Is that the
36,000.
intention of the committee? Discretion on selling and trade-in, allowance to purchase up to 39,649.19.
One unit will do you justice.
Yeah, there are other ones. I mean, I'm not saying I won't be back 2 years from now
Okay.
Right.
when something else hits.
That is the
Gale was
intention of
gonna
the
go to
motion.
sale on a.
Yep,
Noted.
I put the Gale on Wisconsin surplus and the older John Deere unit on Wisconsin surplus.
Your Kubota unit you have now, would
I
that
bet you
be,
could get rid of that locally real easy.
would it be most advantageous to sell that or trade that in and acquire 2 units with a set of attachments and move forward with that?
I don't
Being
know if I
your
can make
speed,
them numbers work with my budget.
even with the sale of the skid steer and everything?
Yeah, because the older Kubota is worth about $9,000 trade in. The Gale's gonna sell for 35-ish, in my opinion.
Okay. So
and
you're
the
gonna be
older
short
Deere's-
about 20-some thousand?
Yeah, the older
Come up
Deere's
with?
gonna be in that $3,000 bracket. I
Just
would
wondering.
guess. So we'd be substantially short. I don't know if I could swing that math.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion, all in favor. Do you want to read that back, Carrie?
Motion to allow the department head to use discretion on selling and trade-in of equipment and allow purchases up to $35,649.19 made by Dave Egan, second by Val Semke.
Perfect. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you have to take
I
up.
need to be excused.
Can I get a motion to excuse Kyle?
I'll excuse you.
Mary will excuse him. A second. Dave, have a good day.
Thank you.
So, Phil, schoolhouse old church maintenance. This was an enlightening topic. I did not know.
Well, again, this was before my time, but my understanding was that we kind of take care of down on Broadway. We've got the old historic school and the church down there, and the county. And for the last 10 years that I've been here in this position and before, we maintained the yard, and we took care of the maintenance on the outside of the building. Fixed the doors, we fixed the window one time, minor this and that. The inside isn't our world. But now the Historical Society has requested that we paint both buildings. And it's far from the siding falling off, but it's showing signs of age. That being said, we're looking at $5,000 to $6,000 minimum to paint those. I haven't did an RFP or seen anything. We're just talking to some house painters and stuff, and that's the numbers they throw at me. I don't have that in my budget to spend to paint a building that's not ours.
Yeah, so can I maybe, whose building is this?
I have
Well,
no
it's
idea.
a Vernon County Historical Building.
Right.
All those, and we don't do anything over at the old normal school.
No.
But it's in city limits.
Yeah.
City's not involved.
So the county right now, every year in budget, gives the Historical Society $35,000. That number has been flat for quite some time. They would love to have an increase, but that's the level of support that the county, outside of the maintenance of this particular property, that's the
Which we
support
should,
that the county
what's
gives.
the value of that? The maintenance, like the mowing, that, what annually, what's that?
Once a week, both yards, 45 minutes.
Yeah, we should put a dollar amount. That's a donation too. That's an
I don't
in-kind
know.
donation.
Painting the building seems like that's.
Say we, downspout falls off, we fix it. The one window got broke, we replaced that. Door didn't work one time, we fixed that. We haven't spent huge amounts of money on it. That's why it was never a big deal. I mean, I remember when I got this position, I think it was like 2 weeks after, they called and said, yeah, we need a door fixed. And I'm like, oh, no, I gotta fix the door, ain't mine. You know, and then I was told, no, we do the outside maintenance.
Where, like, do we have a contract?
Come on, I just don't quite understand where painting of the buildings becomes
Hey,
honest.
I'm
Not that I don't like the
this is a
historical
request.
society, but
I've never found a contract with an agreement that said we do this stuff.
Okay,
I mean, Jody has helped me. We've dug in old county board proceedings where they talked about the buildings and when they moved them, but I've never seen anything. We've just always done it. So,
I thought the county owned it. You're saying
I believe they belong to the county historical society.
I have no idea.
Isn't that a society on its own?
But I just brought this up to start this discussion because I told the historical society I'm not flipping $6,000 to paint them buildings until I find out some fine print.
Yeah.
Unless you guys said, yeah, I remember when we did this, go ahead and do it, which I didn't.
clearly
do it,
that
but-
is not
I
happening.
don't know anything.
But that's the story. I don't have the money.
I just
I
find
mean,
it.
even if we decided to do it, I don't have
We'd
the
have
money
to
this
find-
year, which we're not gonna do, so it'd be discussion for next year, but I just wanted to get it on here to make the guy that's been harassing me to get it painted happy.
So
Okay.
does that mean if they need the bricks tuck point of the other building, we have to do that? I'm
Yeah.
just curious. I mean, I like this.
So this does sound like a
No, that's-
potentially a
we don't-
bigger,
Yeah, this is more than mowing the grass. And it could be a-
Fishing to see if we would.
Yes.
well,
I mean, you can
and
always
if you
ask.
paint this building, what could it impact, like what precedent has been set then for other repairs for other buildings? Like this whole thing surprised me, maybe it shouldn't have, but I had no idea that.
I give up. I know we paid for concrete, because the concrete was busted up going to the steps.
Yeah.
We had guys pour that.
Well, I just
Okay.
think we need to
Nikki,
sort
do you have
that
any
out.
guidance on where we go from here?
I would want to look at any possible statutory implications that
Yeah.
speak to or address the relationship of the county with their respective historical
Or-
societies.
Okay.
Or some past precedent or
Sounds
some
like
paperwork.
we don't know 100%, but that it's very likely there is no contract governing. I would think that it would be prudent to reach out to the representatives of the Historical Society to see their thoughts on whether or not they're aware of a contract. If there is such a contract, of course, we have to certainly put that on top of it. So I guess what I'm telling you is I want to think about it a little bit. And also I'm hearing that, and I was looking to pull this up right now, that we don't know 100% who owns it. So of course that would be a necessary
Mhm.
piece of information for the analysis.
Okay, so Bill has brought it, we're not gonna take action today. Is it appropriate, and I'm asking the committee administrator and Nikki to have legal do a little research on this? Cause I think you've done what you can and we don't have the answers. Is that
Oh,
feasible?
because we have to have a reason to do this. We can't just paint.
So might I suggest that Nikki does the statutory follow-up? I can reach out to them to see if there's an MOU that they're aware of, since Jody's already done the check from our side. And it seems like ownership would be a quick check-in with the Register of Deeds, so, right?
Yeah, and if I can find the address, I'll be able to say that in a minute. So,
Okay, that we're gonna, we'll roll it over with some updates next month.
Second thing, I actually think we do own that property in the corner. That's memories coming back to me slowly, sure.
You think it's our property?
I think it's our property.
Well, that changes a whole bunch
With the
of
building
things.
on it? Well then,
Well, then
Well, then.
figure that out. But so the
I
county,
think, don't quote me on that, but I'm thinking.
okay, so then, okay,
Just got a lot
so
easier.
that might have gotten easier, and then I
More
guess my
expensive.
follow-up, yes, but if we own it and we can, I just need to get this out of my brain and then we can just table it till that, if we own it, then it's up to us to determine when we paint it, it's not up
Right.
to them,
Right.
right?
if we own it, rather than
unless there's an
repair
MOU
walls,
that governs the
Okay.
Yeah, that's
agreed.
what
This was a long time ago and then got moved down here, and I'd have to dig into it again, but it seems to me like I looked on whatever website and I thought we owned that corner property.
Where,
Would we
what's
like
the
to-
side street?
We rent them out for bed and breakfast.
No, it's,
Western.
Stoltz right there. Western.
Yeah, Chicago.
Is it Western?
is it Western?
No,
Yeah,
it's Western.
yeah, Western. Museum? The normal school or the old museum down by the school? Down by the school, yeah. We have computers over there.
Okay,
So,
Down
if
by
you,
Western.
does the county have archives of all the properties that are
I thought our responsibility was just only $1,000 a year.
Would that be registered deeds or?
Yeah, I mean, take Maryland 30 seconds to find it.
Okay, so we're gonna, I appreciate the riddle that you brought to the table, and
Yes.
we're gonna work on it and hopefully have an answer to it by next meeting.
Are you gonna check with Maryland?
Yeah, I'll go stop down there after I'm done with it.
Okay.
Okay, so Phil, what else you got
Yeah,
today?
Okay.
I'm drained.
Vernon County owns both those parcels in the southeastern quadrant.
Okay. That puts it
And then I assume
According to
means
the
the
records online,
building
and it is
on it.
always best to double check, but
So,
I'm guessing that's accurate.
gosh, I hope we don't own
Perhaps we'd like to go
normal
to them.
school.
Okay, so then if that is true, then we have to find out if there's some
Well,
MOUs.
that's
'Cause
another.
even if we own it, then we should have the right to decide when we repair it.
Right, and who accesses it, and not everything,
Like,
absent
can we rent it? I mean, it's kind of cool.
So maybe, what's your idea of just saying, hey, perhaps we could just donate this to them and then
That was
it's
very
their
good.
money?
It's a great idea,
Because
potentially.
Big business.
So- give it to the historical
Okay.
society, it's not our
Let me
baby.
reach out and see what types of agreements that they know of are in place.
Perfect.
And
All right.
we'll go from there.
I'm still in control and I'm moving on to IT. We're gonna go to IT and we're gonna do office voucher approval.
It's like when you pick up a little property you didn't know you had.
Oh, look at this is like a little voucher gift. It's so small this month. $5,857.15 for IT vouchers. Could I have a motion to bring it to the table? Mary, Ole, second. Connor, this must be quite regular.
It is, yes. This is probably the slimmest IP vouchers get. The only thing out of the ordinary is I attended a cybersecurity conference last Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And so there's lodging and meals for cybersecurity conference on there. Other than that, pretty much the slimmest we'll ever see.
All right.
I didn't have any questions.
Any more questions or discussion about the vouchers? All in favor of paying signify by aye.
Okay.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then let's talk about enterprise print solutions.
So this is a big one. It affects all employees in the county. We've been working on this project for quite some time. I think Mary will even recognize in the back that we were working on that when she was sitting on the committee. And so we've collected numerous and a vast amount of data, from how many printers we have in the county, how much we're paying currently in print solutions, how many pages each printer is printing in color, how many pages each printer is printing in black and white, and faxing, and the whole 9 yards. The data set on that is immense. I would share some presentations, but from print companies, they have everything printed. So
That's funny.
I just want to give you a high-level overview, I guess, here. We currently operate with 103 printers around the county. I've worked for multiple different organizations, and that's absurd. Our employee base, that's almost a 1-to-3 ratio. So,
Wow. So everyone gets their own printer.
basically, yes. With that said, there is room for consolidation, vast consolidation. And a lot of the concerns were revolved around secure print. And those are valid concerns. The data we handle here at the county is confidential. It should remain confidential from the clients, from resident data to anything we do. it remains confidential. And the confidentiality piece is at the forefront of my agenda, whether it be on the web or in person on physical copies as well. With that said, we have room to consolidate the printers to like one centralized printer, a multifunction unit that prints all of their needs. So if they need faxing, it would do that. If it prints duplex, it would do that. If they need color, black and white, it would also do that. If they needed high volume printing and you need to print 70 jobs per minute, it would print that. We sized every printer out accordingly. And we evaluated different print vendors. We had them in here on numerous occasions. We reached out to 5 print vendors. 1 failed to respond. 1 declined to bid the project because it was outside of their scope. It was larger than they could engulf. The 3 that came here in person and evaluated our print needs are E.O. Johnson, Marco Technologies, and Tri-State Business. And we sat down with all of them. We showed our current operations. We did a full county walkthrough with all the print vendors that showed up in person, and we pretty much told them that we would like to consolidate, but that is all we wanted. We wanted their unique opinions, but their unique opinions were not very unique. They were all collectively the same. I mean, they're mass consolidation, and it came down to essentially 1 printer per department, in a feasible area. There's exceptions to that. So like DHS, they have family and children welfare, they have economic support down one hallway. On the other hallway, they have child support and long-term support. And, there's a sizable unit that would be in each hallway, so they would share those. And county buildings and the architecture of our buildings are unique, so there's not, you can't just, say 5 units per building. We had to strategically plan these units. But with that said, I guess that one didn't print. Pull this up here. Currently operate with 103 units, and we're looking to consolidate to 25 copiers and 5 printers. So those of you that may not be versed in the printing world, a copier simply, you click print on your printer or a printer simply prints. So you click print on your printer and it prints. Mm-hmm. And a copier is a multifunction unit. So it scans, it faxes, it copies, it prints. So we'd be consolidating to 25 of the copier units, multifunction units, sized accordingly to the department's needs or the area's needs. And then the 5 printers are unique scenarios. We have, like the highway parts department is one of the printers. The distance between the parts department and the front office is, far enough away where it would be justified to have a unit there. We have a unit in the basement of the sheriff's department in their evidence room. The distance between that is justified there. And then the jail, they have 3 units over there that if any of you have ever been in the jail, it's quite a cumbersome process to get through all the locked doors. So there's justified reasons to have those 3 as well. And then we do have 1 printer that is out of scope, and that's in our GIS department. That's our large plotter that we just purchased as well. None of our print vendors would encompass that in their service and support contracts. That's just an out of scope printer.
Sure.
So, with that said, we're looking to consolidate that, and we've got different proposals here If I'm gonna take it at a high level here, number wise, all proposals propose the same thing, 25 copiers, 5 printers. So we really get an apples to apples comparison for cost and service, maintenance, and how much our leased units cost, the whole 9 yards there. Tri-State was priced astronomically higher than all the other proposals we got. I got the notion that this project may be a little bit more than they were willing to bite off, therefore the proposal was priced accordingly.
Okay.
Marco and E.O. Johnson were really the two competitors that we had to sit down and really look at apples to apples and what is in the best interest for the county and our print solution moving forward. With that said, they offer very similar solutions. The biggest key difference is E.O. Johnson uses Ricoh and Linear products. That's their vendor, their source. And Marco uses Sharp products. And for those of you who have printed through either of those units, they both print, relatively the same. I will say that a Ricoh or Linear unit is kind of more of a higher end, more reliable unit, and a Sharp unit is kind of that middle of the road there. It's not low end, but it doesn't have the reliability and the reputation behind it as Ricoh and Linear do. Mm-hmm. With that comes cost. E.O. Johnson's cost came in a little bit higher, and Marco's came in a little bit lower. And then so we sat down and we kind of looked at this. There was a few options on the table. Currently we own 100% of our fleet here at Vernon County. We don't pay any leasing costs on our fleet. And then as far as like service and supplies and toner and all of the things that a printer needs to consume, a wide gamut of things. Some we order from a third party such as Quill or Amazon or something like that. Some we have a service contract with like E.O. Johnson or Tri-State, and they provide that when needed. Some we source right through that vendor, but we don't have a service contract, we just pay for that product. And some we have an eternity of product on hand that we purchased for no apparent reason, and we are just drifting with that.
So regardless of what we do, that process is going to consolidate itself.
Yes. The vision that I'm trying to display here is this consolidation is much needed, mm-hmm. and it'll consolidate everything from, uniformity aspects from printing around the county. For financial purposes, you'll be able to, it was an immense effort to get a clear vision on what we are paying for print expenses around the county right now. I mean, we had to knock on every department door and ask, how much are you spending in print expenses? And we had a spreadsheet that a lot of this, and the spreadsheet's not even uniform because it is astronomically convoluted. They have like 6 office printers, just little desk printers in their office that they purchase toner from who knows where, like Quill or so on and so forth. And then they have a multifunction unit that is under full support and contract. But then, our child support department moved and then we repurposed a unit, and we have a unit over there, and that's also under another negotiated contract that is also paid. We got, like 6 contracts in one department or no contracts, and they pay for it all. I mean, managing that is a mess.
Yeah.
And then you have the IT perspective of managing our fleet right now. And I will tell you, it's not been easy. We have multifunction units across the board. Some contact our print server and we can deploy when the employee starts their position or moves to another position, and then they'll have their printers readily available on their county-owned device. Some are plain old, you go to Walmart and you plug in the printer to your laptop and it has to, IT physically has to touch each device, and then when they move offices or work somewhere else for the day, they don't have a device to print to, and it's convoluted. And
Sure.
we have standing tickets in our help desk that revolve around printing every month, and that could be alleviated with labor costs as well with an IT department.
So you have two vendors on the table.
Two vendors on the table, yep. And I could take a deep dive into this, but you know, there's a lot of information and a lot of thought that has been put into this. And at the end of the day, I would like to recommend the E.O. Johnson proposal simply because it is a more unified proposal. The service on their units that they would cover is a more guaranteed service. They commit to a 3-hour window of service. So if we had a unit that was malfunctioning, not printing, so on and so forth, they would either have a resolution or be on site within 3 hours. Currently, our departments either manage their own toner and ordering process with this unified print solution, and I'll use the term NPS because that's what it is. It's a managed print solution. It's all the printers would contact our print server. It would alleviate all the administration nightmares from IT aspect, as well as it alleviates workload on all of our staff without the whole department with the ordering process, supplies and toner and so forth, because the units would automatically contact E.O. Johnson if we awarded them the contract, and they would send toner right to that department, addressed to that department. And when the device needs toner, when the unit's at like 15% low or whatever, all of that is autonomous and communicates.
So E.O. Johnson's what you like.
E.O. Johnson is the recommended proposal
based on all your research.
On the research and that.
What's the money?
So
between the two.
Yes. So Marco.
And then I know you have a question, Dave.
I would also like to mention before we talk money here, there's different avenues that the print vendors have given us. You know, we can purchase our fleet again, and that comes at a very, very high expenditure. Nothing has gone down in cost. And for the best interest of the county, I would recommend not purchasing the fleet again, because as you see in today's day and age where we currently operate, we have a whirlwind of problems in our print fleet, because we have units that are brand new, that are functioning, working properly. We have units that are in the midst of it. They're somewhere in, they're not super antiquated, but they're functioning. They're probably due for replacement in that 5-year window mark where they should be replaced. And then we have our units that are just totally antiquated, 12 plus years old, that leave streaks in your papers, and they jam every fourth print, and so on and so forth. So we're wasting toner and supplies just keeping those devices around as well.
Yeah, and weren't we at Veterans Office and they were like hitting it with a hammer because that's what made it work?
Yeah, it was.
True story.
Yeah, well, our meeting last week.
So you want to move to a leased fleet because then it's managed by the company and you don't have to worry about the rotation of them all.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Because you would be looking at a very high expenditure. We've got numbers like $170,000 if we wanted to purchase
what you need,
refresh our lease again, or a fleet again.
Okay.
So
you're a good salesman. You're like building me up, and Dave had a question, then Mary had a question.
And my question was, you hit on it, leasing versus purchasing. And what are you going to do to the old?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have, our mixed fleet. We have 103 of these printers. What the heck do we do with all this if we go with a solution? So if we look at it, most of our units aren't worth anything. I mean, you're looking at units that have 1 million plus print jobs on them that are last of life. They can't even do secure print or send to email print because the protocols aren't even there and they're falling short. So any of these print vendors have offered, if we were awarded their contract, that they would gather those units and dispose of them properly free of charge.
That's great.
The units that do have value, they would either give us a trade-in value or we can keep them based on, what vendor we go with. So if we went with Marco, because there's no units that are compatible and they don't service street gold linear, and most of our fleet there is 3 tiers that would be yes solution.
And they can still service them and
Still under the umbrella.
Mary?
I know you said, you decided these on each building, and have the department heads of each of these buildings and what you proposed, have they been on board with you?
It's been a very, very fluid conversation on what they need for print needs, and what they are utilizing for print jobs, and where they see the units being utilized, and how will it affect when we remove the unneeded units, and how the staff will acclimate to that change and whatnot. I think across the board, all departments are very on board with unified.
As long, and I think that's so important, is it has to fit what they need. And
Right.
if you've done that work and nobody has any issues with it, I would sure like to know. I think that's the most important aspect of this, is that we still get all of our needs filled at what I hope is a more reasonable cost.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And that it's, what is the cost?
Mary Henry?
So, once I was on the board 3 years ago, this has been on my radar for 3 years. Well, 6 actually, because it's a huge cost of what we're doing right now. It is money that is just going out the window. And the savings is like actually hundreds of thousands. It is. Districts have moved away from this years and years ago, because the cost saving was so significant. With it comes change, and that always isn't embraced, because people will say, I want this printer because it's right here and I can do it and I don't have to walk. So there is going to be people that buck this because they're used to having that convenience. But a printer versus the cost per, it's like cents versus all of these individual units that people have bought. And that's where the money is saved.
Right.
Yeah, if you just
Because
want
the
to,
cost per sheet is so expensive on those little sheet machines and the things.
Carrie?
So I just want to give a little summary, because Connor's done a great job of providing the details. But to bring it back up a level, to Mary's point, this sounds really easy when you're just hearing about the proposals and a lot of the details. This was a really hard process, actually. So Kayla, when she was in special projects, Kayla Fortney put a lot of time into this as well, for organizing, understanding what was going on in the departments. Connor and Kayla worked together and walked through the departments, and so there has been a ton of engagement and actually months of work leading up to this before it got to you guys. For the lease, Connor's going to share that number. Do you want to just share the number for the lease, please?
So E.O. Johnson's lease number is $3,995.26 a month versus Marco, the other contender on the table, looking at $3,517.63 a month.
So one of the differences is the amount of printing that they allow that's included within the lease. One of the things about this point, again, taking us back to Mary's, is every department has a certain amount in their budget for printing. What this does is centralize this amount, kind of again showing the value of the centralization. So the money is in the budget for this amount for 2023. It's just spread differently throughout departments. And so there's going to be a little bit of back end work to consolidate that in the budget, but the money's there. In fact, we're spending more than that monthly right now for our hodgepodge solution. So it's
The other thing is too, they'll have, correct, the
Yeah, that's
number
great.
to key in on their number. So that goes back to your department head, so you know who's using what.
Right.
Because sometimes we'd have student teachers come in and they copy off books.
Right.
And they do it in color.
and
And all of a sudden it just like, it skyrockets your bill and it makes people accountable.
And that's a great point. There's a tracking solution called PaperCut that's included in the E.O. Johnson quote. And so we'll be able to share with departments exactly how much they printed, in what color. The badge, the code or the badge scan is really important because that also protects us in departments where they're printing confidential information so that nothing prints until they physically go and scan.
Okay,
Or-
wait, hang on. Dave and Oli. Yeah,
I'd
go.
like to make a motion that we support the department,
The
IT
E.O.
department.
Johnson lease.
Yes,
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
and,
Can I get a second? I'll second.
okay,
More discussion.
Well, it'll also come up too, that people print for private uses. Like, there's a hockey thing going on and they're printing off flyers. And that's all on the government money. So if they wanna do that, there really should be a form saying, yes, I would like to do this, and they have to actually pay to do it. And you'd be surprised how many people are printing private things on our printers.
Sure.
I think Connor and I would not be surprised by that. No.
No.
I think that probably happens in all businesses. Oli.
So the
Shirts or what?
lease payment will come out of each department's budget
Proportionate.
proportion, right?
Or an easy way to administer it might be taking their budget and centralizing that into a centralized printing budget to make, because we'll make one single payment for this amount to E.O. Johnson.
Yep.
And then we'll allocate it out. Some departments, Human Services is able to charge back their costs. So is Veterans, theirs is partly covered by a grant, for example. So there'll be an allocation out to the departments. But the best solution for the budget is to centralize it.
That'll be figured out through the finance.
That's right. Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a project, but we'll work through it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve this. My only question is, it's already been approved in the budgeting process. Like, this doesn't have to go back to finance. It's already there.
There's
We're-
printing in the departmental
We're
budget,
approving this lease or the E.O. Johnson. That's
and we'll be wrapping up the budget that is in the print line items.
to this.
Because this
Okay.
will be the county print solution.
So
Okay.
that would,
The financial adjustment throughout the end of the year budget might be different than what it is, actually be different than the budget.
Well, it'll be less expensive than what's budgeted, I would expect.
Well, all the excess supplies you have, but you're gonna use them up or?
Well, we've directed all department heads to cease ordering on supplies. So if we sign with E.O. Johnson, we'll proceed, they'll order the equipment. As you know, the supply chain is a little latent. So we're looking to get the printers probably mid-January. And then so we'll get them installed then at that point.
oh, will this be a combination of new and used printers that they come up with?
All new.
All new,
All
okay,
new,
they're starting with all
all
new.
Except for those 3 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because,
That could be used.
you know, some people they can bring in anything they want, but these will be new.
All new, yeah. And that's explicitly set in their contract. The contract is very, very good.
Okay.
Great job. I'm serious. And the company ELO, because I've worked with both companies, ELO is better.
Okay, so all in favor of accepting the recommendation to go with E.O. Johnson?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I do agree. It is a very template format to how to engage everybody to make change. I think it was done very well. So thank you.
And I think, we'll see the benefits of this. It'll, right now, you can print to one of our printers and a print job will sit there. And with this change, we'll have secure printing as well with paper cut, as Carrie alluded to. They'll swipe their employee badge, release the print job. They could print, 10 documents, and if they wanted to just collect them at one time, they just come up to the unit, swipe their badge, collect those documents. It just streamlines things, increases security and productivity. And, across the board, it's, we're gonna be in a world of hurt here in the upcoming years if we don't take action.
Sure.
Because our fleet is aging
Yeah.
quite rapidly. I mean, our average unit age is 12 years old. And so to pay service and supplies on that, and when that unit fails, we'll have to buy a new one. So this is definitely the appropriate action.
Perfect. You got it. We're on board. Department and Help Desk report.
All right, with that said, the IT department has been humming.
Yes.
Lots of changes. The big ticket item is our Office 365 transition, and that really touches a lot of what we do here at the county. So it's our core software suite across the county. Word, PowerPoint, Excel, our Outlook and Mail, the way we save files, the whole 9 yards. So,
You want to go to the help desk report?
yep.
I'm ready for you.
Okay.
I'm sure.
So with that said, that kind of trails into the help desk report here. Last month in September, we had 232 tickets. Uptick this month with 356 compared to last October of 2021 of 224. Moving down here, most of it was Office 365 migration related tickets that we were working out. So that's software related, 76.3% of those tickets. 4.4 were hardware. 3.5 were phone related tickets, office phones. Again, there's some of those print tickets showing up there. 8.5 of those print tickets at 6% in employment. And then there's that slim light blue category that I guess the indicator fell off there, but I'm assuming it was a small percentage of other tickets there. New office creations and new office moves sat at 0 again this month, so calm waters there. Open ticket report. Our help desk health meter is in good standing. It's not fantastic, but we're getting there. We have the month just closed 2 days ago, so we have 17 tickets open that were opened in October, here in November. Percentage closed in October was 94.4%, and the percentage of those tickets opened is 5.6%. Device replacement still sits at 57 devices out of 60 devices replaced. That hasn't changed since we last met. Been really busy with our rollouts and all the other transitions. Those last 3 devices are our dispatching stations. So those are more of a heavy lift. They're scheduled for replacement here in November, so we'll get that knocked out. You'll see that change next committee meeting.
Great.
And then we have 0 devices out for hardware related issues. And then we have 7 failed phishing attempts, which is slightly lower than last month. Our average is 6 failed phishing attempts, so right about there. in a perfect world, you would like to see 0, but we're all human.
Thank you.
And then trailing off of that is just touch on director's report here quick. A lot going on in IT. Still working very heavily with our sheriff's department, getting their core software suite upgraded and ready for implementation here. Looking for a go live date for that December 19th. And this is a heavy lift because our software suite right now we utilize in the jail, we utilize in dispatching, we use it for record keeping, for just like administrative purposes within the department. But with this new software suite, we have all of these external agencies involved too. So all of our local external agencies, police departments now have access to cross-collaborate. So Westby, Viola, LaFarge, the whole 9 yards will be more seamless collaboration there. So when one of our deputies do pull over a resident or help with a situation, it'll be entered in the system. And if one of those agencies has that interaction, then that information is shared more effectively. Right now, it occurs with a more manual process. So, big lift there. We'll be having training for that suite in the tail end of November there. That'll be a 2-week training for external agencies and our local sheriff's department personnel as well. Access points, still in the process of getting upgraded there. A little bit of a standstill there as our bandwidth is at max capacity. We've got 1/4 of our fleet implemented. All of our switches that are on replacement cycle have been successfully implemented. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is Office 365. So we're pretty much closing out that transition. The last, well, not last week, but the prior 2 weeks, we did application upgrades to all of our departments. So they're using the new Office suites and Office products there. On the 27th, we had our mail cut over, and you should have received an email regarding that. You may have had to reconfigure your mobile devices at that point, but moving that mailbox to the cloud there. So that has now been complete. And then the last phase of this transition is we get Teams included with our subscription. So we'll be phasing out Zoom hosted meetings. You can still join any Vernon County Zoom hosted meeting until the end of the month. At the end of November, we'll be shutting down Zoom licensing and we'll be fully transitioned to Teams. So moving forward, all committee meetings, board meetings, all Vernon County hosted meetings will be Teams meetings. Doesn't require any action. Just, you click the link as expected in the agenda or wherever you may receive that link. It'll open the meeting as it does today in Zoom, and you get the same meeting options. Chat is still disabled because we are public meetings, and all the settings hold true as that.
Mm-hmm.
That is all I have to report.
It was a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's a lot.
It is impressive how much action you have been able to take in your department and how much transition you've had. So I just want to acknowledge that there's been the IT I sat in before to what is now is a marked difference, and I very much appreciate your work.
I appreciate the comments.
You guys helped me out the last couple of
So,
Vouchers. All right, we are gonna move through some vouchers. You ready? Let's start with, what am I starting with?
Clerk of Court.
Clerk of Courts. Yes. Okay, so the total for Clerk of Courts is $10,253.32. questions or comments about these? Sheila? No.
She's right behind you.
Anything pretty usual?
No, it's, we had 3 jury trials. One was 4 days long, so a majority of those were jurors.
Motion to bring to the floor. Dave, Mary, any more questions, discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Excellent. County clerk. Jody is hanging in there. So the total that needs to be brought to the table, $30,612.94. Can someone bring that to the table? Mary, Oli, Jody, anything you want to say about them?
A lot of ballots.
Any questions? Looks, yeah, ballot.
A lot of ballots.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of paying the county clerk vouchers signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then I have the DA.
We didn't receive any from the DA or the Register of Deeds.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Karen is here, so it looks like I need a motion to bring $1,104.02.
Moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Oli. Karen, anything you want to say? Okay, any questions or concerns about these vouchers? No. All in favor of paying this signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
All right, guys, you made it.
So now let's talk about agenda items for next meeting. I have that we're going to roll over the the ELB and PTO discussion. We're going to talk about, we're going to bring back schoolhouse and old church.
Building that we was gonna Airbnb it.
Stipulation.
We guessed.
We have our special meeting, so that's going to, now I'm going to do some action items, that special meeting, so you're going to post, and with that posting, we'll attach the org charts that you presented to us, and then Nikki's documents for review.
Mhm.
Serena, you're going to email all of us the information that we couldn't see regarding PTO, and Carrie, you're going to reach out to the Historic Society and see if you can come up with any MOU. Looks like Phil already went to the Register of Deeds. Did I miss any action items? That's what I had written down.
There's one more regarding interim that'll be on your next agenda, and that's approving the estimates for those properties that are that we intend to put through the process.
Okay. Any other items for next meeting that we didn't list?
You probably sell those properties if you go on a monkey with them.
I think that's the intention. That's the interim process.
For the county owned buildings?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the interim and approval.
Oh, for the church and the school.
Let's just take that one step at a time. Okay, Dave. Okay, next meeting date. Next meeting, we have our special meeting on the 22nd of November at 9:30 a.m. And then our next regular committee meeting would be December 7th at 9:30. Does that still work for everyone?
I'll probably do
It's not the second Wednesday. Does
It's
that?
the first Wednesday. We meet on the
But we always,
Wednesday.
yeah. Hello. That work for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be zooming in, I hope.
Teaming.
Teaming in.
Teaming in.
It's the same thing. I just click, it's not my problem.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.
All in favor, signify by aye. Thank you all. Oh, we did it. 2 hours.
Well, 30.